Now let's get ready to be serenaded with informative information and insightful information from our guests. So I would like for you guys to introduce yourselves to my audience and let them know who you are.
I'm Gabriel Rich. I am a writer, publicist, although that part is winding down. Radio show host and producer. I have a show called The Rich Report that comes on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. And I am an American Indian, or I should say rather an American Indian, and then the Tuscarora to boot. So I, like Phoenix, am interested in the conditions of our people. We are most of us are Indians, and we are an invisible people walking in plain sight. And the goal is to make us visible again.
Just to stay in the theme of the show, we always are here to define love. So how do you define love?
Love is a cosmic spiritual energy that is, one can say, beyond definition, because some things are both tangible and intangible. You can't necessarily reach out and grab love, but you know it's there. You know it's ever present. It's soulful. It is something that I guess you can say is symbiotic. It ebbs, it flows, and it's something that is magnetic. And love, as I see it, is a feeling. One could say an emotion. I would say a feeling more so than an emotion for both people, land, the universe, really, because we're all following universal law, whether we believe it or not. And it should be applied more today. There's less love in the world today because the people who run the world today are not loving individuals. They are the exact opposite. But love conquers all, and that's how I see it.
So let's talk about this, the culture in which you are both actually exposing, defending, fighting for. So how did you guys come to knowing who you actually were and are, and how did that become a passion for you? Well, there it is for me. Okay. Okay, now you got me wanting to go into that. Gabriel, go ahead. How did you come into knowing? Because now I got some questions.
It's kind of funny because, I obviously, growing up, born in 1966, during the height of the beginning of the Black Power movement, we grew up being black and proud, and then, of course, the whole African American thing, which I never bought into, but even the whole Afrocentric thing, part of all of that stuff, used to wear some X hats and all this other stuff, but none of that stuff ever really set right in my soul. So I started actually flashing back a few years ago. I started, because I was always on a quest for the truth. So, the deal is when you search for the truth, when you find it, you can't then blink and turn away and act like you didn't see it. It's there. It's present. So I started flashing back, and then I remember this one particular instance where I was like 10 or 11 years old and Roots came on. And I remember after watching, everybody was watching Roots, if you remember. All the white kids were apologetic. I'm sorry for what happened in slavery. All the black kids were mad. All the Negroes kids, So I said to my big mama, gosh, big mama, we're from Africa. And I just remember the look she gave me, peered over, over her glasses. And she wasn't a backhand type of person, but she was getting ready to give me the backhand. And she said, we ain't from no Africa. We from right here, And then she said to my big dad, what's wrong with this boy? They got to tell this boy something. My big dad, cut that mess out, boy. Ain't somebody else. Now, he was born in 1904. She was born in 1908. Okay? Really, she was my great aunt. And from there, just remembering going to Sampson County, North Carolina, because that's where my father's side was from. I'm from Wayne County, North Carolina. All of the statues and stuff that you would see of the Indians look like us. back then. Now, they're not there anymore. They've taken those statues away. Going to Camp Waccamaw, going to, Camp Tuscarora, these places back in the day, those statues looked like us. They were looking like us then, and we didn't even realize it. So I just started putting two and two together and started doing the homework and doing the research. And, what I found was, there was a slave trade, but not as they described it. And certainly no 12 million Africans made it here. They would proliferate through our culture. We'd be eating more, fufu and jollof rice if that was the case. And we don't speak any of their language. It didn't, their language didn't blend into ours. Most of the Geechee language that people talk about is really more of the Ogeechee tribe. It has nothing to do really with Africans. And I'm not saying that Africans weren't in South Carolina. Certainly they were. Charleston Port brought some in, but not nearly to the extent that what we've been told. And what I found out was, because they used to always say that the Indians are an invisible people, but when you think of Indians back then, you think of Plains Indians. You think of you think of the cat in the Keep America Beautiful commercial, where he's canoeing and and then he comes out in one tear, and then you come to find out that he's Italian.
Right.
Iron Eyes Cody. He's Italian. He's actually one of the main people who pushed for the Native American movement, because native just means you're born here. Basically, he was a $5 Indian, and as they are, and also just going to certain reservations here, the Lumbee Reservation here, a few other reservations, the Waccamaw Reservation, and when you go there, you dig deep, and they like you to visit, but they don't like you to dig deep. And I started digging deep to the point where they kicked me out. So it just came to the logical conclusion that we are those Indians that they speak of. My family on neither side certainly were not slaves. We are from the Carolinas mainly. I was told, however, my paternal grandmother's side, that we came up. Some of us came up through Barbados. Costa Rica, and that's probably the case. I'm still looking into that, but for the most part, my mother's father's side, my grandmother, paternal grandmother, she was a Rowan. She was a Rowan Cherokee, if you will, part of the Cherokee Nation. And my grandfather was a Blackfoot, paternal grandfather. And on my mother's side, they're Tuscaroran Indians, partly from the Nuciot, which is along the Neuse River in North Carolina. And, it is what it is. And I've, since then, the pieces to the puzzle that Phoenix, Tasha, and myself have all been checking out, they just fall into place.